Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second Board of Directors Town Hall of 2022. I'm so grateful for everyone joining us today. I'm Denise Trousseau, Global Business Travel Association's president, and the purpose of today's call is to connect with you, our members, our partners, and our industry stakeholders to provide you with insights and updates on the progress, priorities, and the people that are driving the association's continued evolution. Few housekeeping items that we'll be covering today. Several of the board members will be joining to provide you with updates on their committees. We welcome you to reach out to the GBTA board or any GBTA staff member at any time with your ideals or feedback. We also know that you have questions, and we encourage you throughout today's presentation to take the time to post your questions to the Q&A sections at the bottom of the screen. We'll answer as many of those questions during today's call as it permits, and ensure you that we'll follow up directly with you on any remaining questions should our time run short today. Just simply write in your questions in the Q&A box. We'll also be distributing today's recording as well as the presentation for on-demand viewing. The GBTA team will be sending this out to you shortly after today's session. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and get started and introduce you to the current GBTA Board of Directors. Like so many of you, they volunteer their time, expertise to help GBTA to deliver what our members and our industry need. I want to take a special time to welcome our 4 newest board members, Tammy, Sue, Barbara, and Kevin. They were recently elected to the GBTA Board of Directors at our convention in San Diego this August. Together as a team, we continue to work to drive the association forward, side by side with our staff and our key volunteers. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. GBTA, I'm going to share with you a couple of the GBTA board objectives, starting with the association and the trending. On the next slide, you'll see that GBTA as an association is tracking to the trends and forecasts of our industry. This bar chart in blue comes from the most recent GBTA Business Travel Index projections, and it shows the projected forecast for our industry's recovery and growth. At GBTA, we are also tracking the organization's recovery against a similar trajectory. In 2022, we will be approximately back to 65% of our pre-pandemic levels in terms of budget performance and expectations. We're also forecasting that we will be at 80% by the end of the coming year. I'm so excited to be able to share those predictions with you. So for the business travel industry and the industry and GBTA, the forecast is continuing moving in the recovery projections. Sorry about that. As GBTA announced at our convention in San Diego, our evolution will be guided by the purpose and premises of our new GBTA brand. It is much more than just a logo, words, and colors. It serves as our foundation and our North Star for all that we do. Keeping the GBTA brand expectations and commitments at the forefront means we are delivering on what we do best: community, learning, advocacy, and much more, to benefit you, our members, our partners, and our industry. We look forward to continuing to elevate our efforts and our outcomes for the collective many voices and one purpose of our industry. With that, the GBTA board, as well as GBTA staff, recently got together to talk about what do we want to deliver as we move into 2023. And it was really ensuring to hear that both the staff and the board of directors aligned with what our member needs are asking us. And that's to continue to deliver you the value to you, the members, to drive our global engagement across the globe, to ensure that advocacy for a sustainable business travel is here in the future, to cultivate more events with care and thought, and to nurture our resources as we move forward. And I hope that you all agree with me that you've seen that over the last year and continue to see it in 2023. With that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Mark so he can cover sustainability and where we're driving forward in that area. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks so much, Denise. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I know sustainability has certainly been one of the key priorities for our members, you and our industry as a whole. There's so much going on, and I just wanted to take the opportunity just to briefly update you on our initiatives and where we are at the moment and priorities for next year as well. As a reminder, we launched our initiative earlier this year to build a greener future for business travel, an initiative that requires all of us as an industry to come together. Our focus is around the 5 pillars of the Glasgow Declaration for climate action in tourism. And we were the first business travel organisation to join as a partner to bring the call to action to our sector, to cut emissions by half in 2030 and reach net zero by 2050. We've had such a great response from our industry partners since we started this journey. We've got 20 suppliers who've joined our efforts across airlines, hotels, car rental, travel management companies, booking technologies. Thanks so much for your support. This has helped really finance our work to advocate, collaborate, and educate on the solutions that will help take carbon emissions out of travel, to make sure we continue to connect people and leverage business travel as a force for good. Given the urgency of the task, we've had to scale fast, as I'm sure you appreciate, and this is just a snapshot of what we've achieved so far over the past 12 months. In April, we released the first ever comprehensive global study on the state of sustainability in the business travel industry, a study which enabled us to identify actions to improve the sector's environmental performance. And the study was even referenced and supported by the EU transport officials at our recent summit in Brussels last month. From an education perspective, thanks to the expertise and support of our Sustainability Committee, we released our brand new Sustainability Toolkit, an actionable guide for travel managers on how to best manage the climate impact of business travel. We've also continued our advocacy push and shared our call to action on sustainable aviation, multimodality, and emissions reporting with key policymakers in Brussels. It's been great to see the support of high-level EU officials towards the value of business travel and its sustainable growth. Finally, building partnerships and driving collaborative action has been the centerpiece of our work. We signed a memorandum of understanding with the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance, applied for observer status for COP28, and started to outline strategic partnerships with the Travel Foundation, Travelist, GSTC, UNWTO, SABA, and many others. So I really feel encouraged of what we've achieved this year, but there's still so much work to do, much more work ahead of us. We'll continue to champion our industry efforts and supporting the efforts and tools our sector needs to deliver on its climate promise. We'll establish a climate action plan and pathway for the industry, a roadmap with concrete steps on how to decarbonize business travel, building on the momentum of outcomes of the recent summit. We'll continue to advocate with policymakers for investments in SAF, green technologies, the development of rail and charging infrastructure, better multimodality and interoperability, as well as a single global standard to calculate emissions for business travel. All of these is what we've been talking about over the last year. We'll continue to extend our partnerships with like-minded organizations and NGOs to increase the impact of collective work. And we'll be gathering everyone again on the topic of sustainability and climate action in June next year in Washington, DC. So that's all from me for now. I hope you appreciate there's been a lot of work. And it's really a big thank you, I want to say, to all of our volunteers, for you, to all our members who've continued to support our journey. And talking about membership, I'll hand over to Maria.
Thank you so much, Mark. So as we continue to talk about membership, and we go on to the next slide, I'm excited to talk about all the progress that we've made on there, especially as we look at the challenges that we have faced. But the first thing that we did is we got together and we focused on what is our mission? What are we trying to accomplish? And so the things that I want to focus with you guys is, that we bring the global business travel industry together so that members can learn from and inspire one another, develop as a business and as individuals, and represent our common interests and collectively move forward the industry. But what I want to make sure that comes out of here is that each voice matters. So as we focus this, our journey, I know that everyone understands this. In 2021, it was about surviving. It really was. And as we focus on 2022, it was about stabilizing. But the beauty is, as we look forward and we've gone through all the survival and stabilization aspect of it, we're going to start engaging more than ever. And then as we go forward to the next phase in 2024, we'll go forward with personalization. And we're going to talk more and more about this as we go on and talk more about the membership journey. So what are the strategic focuses? So we're going to focus on how do we best grow the membership so that it brings more value in there. How do we better enhance that experience and to delight and overachieve on that so every member sees the value of what this incredible organization does. The other aspect of it is we're going to focus more and more on the globalization because we hear from you. That's one thing that we hear time and time again, and we're going to be focusing it on the membership. Also, we're going to expand the prospecting funnel and the partnership. So what does that mean? In that, we're going to look to make sure that we have diversity in our membership, that it follows the path of what we have talked about before on there. And then extending the partnerships, we're going to look at partnering with other memberships, other organizations out there to bring that value in and to partner with them. Also, speaking of the membership value, we go to the very core of GBTA on that, is bringing community together. So that membership value will continue to reinforce that. The learning, I don't know about you guys, but it's been a huge benefit to me. And what we're hearing not only is what the membership does for individuals, but leaders are relying on GBTA to help train their new employees, that the learning is that good and that strong. And the advocacy, if we didn't know the benefit of advocacy during COVID, it certainly demonstrated that and beyond. GBTA's voice was heard, and GBTA's voice helped drive the needed change and focus throughout COVID and beyond. So as we continue on, and we'll talk more about this as we go on, I want to turn it over to the volunteer committee and to Sue.
Thank you, Maria, and good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. The intent of the volunteer committee is to work with GBTA on volunteer initiatives to help strengthen volunteer engagement and recognition. The committee's goal in 2022 was to launch a program that would help us celebrate and recognize our amazing volunteers. So back in April, during National Volunteer Month, the volunteer committee launched an exciting new program, the Volunteer of the Month program, to help recognize our hardworking volunteers who have given their time and expertise to help others. That said, we would like to encourage everyone to participate in this program by nominating someone that deserves recognition. It's important to know that even if your nominee is not selected for Volunteer of the Month award, your nomination will still be considered for additional annual volunteer awards presented at convention. You'll see the QR code and link to do the nominations in this slide. Moving along, the Volunteer Committee's 2023 goal is to build out a new volunteer webpage where GBTA Global members can go and view all of the volunteer opportunities available. Our goal is to set up the page in a very transparent manner so that you can understand upfront the criteria and time commitment involved in each role and decide what is best suited to you. In addition, we will also define the criteria required for our volunteer recognitions and awards. Please be on the lookout for this new page in 2023. Lastly, as I wrap up, I want to remind everyone that volunteering is not just about giving back. Volunteerism is going to help you to develop new relationships, learn new skills, and gain knowledge to help with your professional development. With that, I will pass it along to Charlene Kataru-Nanu, Chair of the Education Committee.
Thanks so much, Sue, and greetings to everyone. The Education Committee was formed at the beginning of the 2021-2022 Board of Directors term, and the intent is for us to provide guidance and support to the GBTA professional development staff on the member education deliverables. Now, the committee also wants to be a conduit for you, the members, and for our industry on educational content, delivery, and any gaps that you think we might have in our educational offerings so that we can meet the needs of our diverse membership. I encourage you to share any feedback you have on where you think we can best support the educational needs of your journey. Now, there was a lot accomplished in 2022 by this group, but I'm going to highlight a couple of things today. First was the massive undertaking of the GTP exam project, and that was successfully brought together by individuals from across the globe who reviewed and modernized not only the GTP content, but the certification exam. I want to send out a huge thank you to every single one of you out there that volunteered your time to make sure that this GTP certification remains relevant, excuse me, to your peers and to the broader industry. Next, in partnership with the board membership committee, who we heard from just a few minutes ago, there was a survey that was launched, and this partnership and collaboration between our two board committees came about by wanting to gather information to help us understand how you value the member benefits that you have today and where you think more value would be available to you, and then what educational elements are important to you. So thank you to everyone who took the time to complete that survey and share your feedback with us. Now, there are some very exciting things ahead for us in 2023 as well. The professional development team is working on developing an educational pathway for our members. The pathway will assist our members to identify the best educational pathway for their journey. What we hope will happen is that the pathway will help answer questions that members often have about where to get started, especially for some of our new members, and what should come next as they start to navigate through the GBTA educational offerings. GBTA is also looking at how can we help inspire the next generation of workers to consider corporate travel as a career. We know, and we keep hearing, that our workforce is aging. And so while there are established mentorship programs in place for those already in the industry, we are working on a plan to partner with colleges and universities to raise the visibility of our industry to the students in hospitality programs and to provide opportunities for them to engage with us, to experience the world of corporate travel, and to help inspire them to choose corporate travel as their career path. Lastly, I encourage you to reach out and share your feedback with us as we build out these initiatives. Now I'm going to throw this over to Rosemary to give us an update on advocacy efforts.
Thank you, Charlene. Next slide, please. I'll be talking about our advocacy efforts across Europe and North America. So starting over in Europe, the GBTA has been working with our advocacy partner, Grayling, to push for standardization of emissions accounting. Anyone who has been working to measure their sustainability efforts across the globe knows how hard it can be, as there are at least 9 different models that are being used at this time. By creating a continental standard that can be then carried across the globe, travel providers and buyers will be able to better account for and therefore reduce their environmental footprint. We are also pushing for greater access to various modes of travel in the European continent. An example of a multimodal trip, you could travel from Brussels to Nice, and by combining rail and air travel, you could lose no time and save half your emissions. Finally, last month in Brussels, the GBTA Europe Conference with VDR, as well as the Sustainability Summit, were hosts to 5 officials from the European Union. Crossing the pond, as they like to say, we were successful to push the current administration to drop COVID-19 restrictions at the borders, opening the United States to global travelers in June of this year. Congress also passed, and the administration signed into law, a tax credit to boost the production of sustainable aviation fuels, SAF as they are endearingly called. And that was a key GBTA advocacy message during the legislative summit last year. If you weren't aware, sustainable airline fuel is approximately 8 times more expensive to produce than the current process from fossil fuels. 2 components of these efforts are produce 3 billion gallons of SAF per year by 2030 and supply sufficient SAF to meet 100% of the aviation fuel demand by 2050. Our advocacy efforts weren't only in the US, we also worked with Canada to lead them to dropping any COVID-19 restrictions on incoming travelers in May of this year. And they just recently ended their program of randomly testing individuals. And with that, I will hand it over to Will for him to talk through our calendar for next year.
Thanks, Rosemary. Well, as GBTA's treasurer, I'm happy to share with you the calendar of some upcoming in-person GBTA events for 2023. So I think we're all anxious to get back on the road and see each other. As a reminder, these can also be found on GBTA's website under the events link, which is in the top right section of the website. So let's just start with an event that begins a week from today, which is the APAC Travel Summit in Bangkok, Thailand. This is actually hosted in partnership with the Pacific Asia Travel Association, and we're excited to host this inaugural event. It's going to be held at the state-of-the-art Queen Sirikit National Convention Center, and it's going to really set our stage, I think, for the commitment and focus that we have as an association on putting the G back into GBTA. We've got 3 other events taking place in the first quarter of next year. We're going to host the chapter presidents from around the US in Los Angeles on January 23rd through the 25th. We're going to follow that with the Supplier Summit in February in Dallas. And then in March, we'll produce our Mexico conference, which is taking place in Mexico City on the 15th and 16th of the month. As we look to Q2, we'll host our ever so popular Canadian conference in Toronto on May the 15th. We're still nailing down our dates for the GBTA Ladders event, which is going to be held at some point in May. We're going to be combining our legislative summit with our sustainability summit in Washington, D.C. at some point in June. And then, of course, in the third quarter, we're going to host GBTA's annual convention in Dallas, Texas. It'll, of course, be warm, August 13th through the 15th, and that's going to be in downtown Dallas. As we go into the fourth quarter, we're going to host our Italian conference in Milan, host our Win It Gala, have our European conference in Hamburg, Germany, and then hosting another APAC Travel Summit. I would just encourage everybody to continue to watch and read our daily news for more information on both our in-person events as well as some of our virtual events that we produce. So with that, Tammy, I'm going to turn it back over to you for our questions.
Fantastic. So great job by all the presenters. Thank you for that. And this is a really wonderful time for everybody who's listening to this webinar to be able to ask questions of the board and the staff and be able to really get all your questions answered. So please continue to enter those into the Q&A box. We have a few, so I'm going to go ahead and get started there, and then I'll watch carefully for anything else that comes in. But Will, we're going to stay with you, if you don't mind, because the first one that came in is a question about how is the organization doing financially, especially as we're seeing more pressures on the economy?
Yeah, thanks. Well, as we shared in July, we've had a very good outcome with many of our insurance claims that came in from 2020, as well as a successful event last year in 2021. Both of those things really have left our financial position better than it's been in recent memory in terms of the cash reserves that the association has. I think relative to how many organizations have endured and survived the pandemic, we're in a really good place. Those reserves, in fact, they serve as, I think, an important backstop for us as we continue to recover, as our suppliers continue to reinvest in the association. It's giving us a longer runway for us to be able to continue to produce in-person events, continue to focus on building out our virtual presence with our association members globally. And so I think we're in a really good position, and we're looking forward to continued investments in the association as our suppliers return to sponsorship levels that we've seen pre-pandemic.
Fantastic. Okay, wonderful. So then, Maria, I'm going to come to you. There was a question about how is GBTA doing regarding membership numbers?
Thanks for the question, Tammy. Actually, some really good news. The team has been working tirelessly, strategically, and very thoughtfully on this. And you can imagine it was quite a challenge because of the tight budgets that everybody was facing. So in 2021, we were about a 42% retention rate. We've improved to 71% retention rate as of October. Also, the good news is that taking out the COVID, because, you know, we gave out a lot of honorary type memberships and stuff. If you take that out year over year, we've actually increased our membership by over 1,000. So that puts us at about 7,100. So all incredible news. A couple other data points that are important to consider too is kind of the regional look. We continue to make strides in both the US and Europe, which are our primary ones, and we'll continue to focus on that along with the US chapters. And we're having really good focus on that, along with the drive for local and international membership will be a lot of what we'll continue to make progress on. The other interesting thing, and forgive me one more data point, because you know I'm a data junkie here, but is that split between the allied and direct. It's a fascinating trend because as of right now, we're 45% direct and 55% allied, which in 2019, we were flipped on that. And interesting that in 2020, it was 50-50. So, you know, we're kind of, but it's a good, healthy balance. So good question. All good news.
Good, good, good. Wonderful. Thank you. This next one is a great one about Win It. And the question is, I would like to know how to get more involved with Win It and what is the best way to do that? And no one better to answer that question than Mick Lee.
Thank you so much. So the timing is perfect. As many of you know, we are so fortunate that Bev Heinrich has chosen us, and she's been with us for the year of 2022, and she leads the program for Win It on a global basis and has made a significant impact into our ability to really drive change for gender equality. We have a program that is being launched over the next couple of weeks, where we're formally going out again to the volunteer program. And we have had a great program of volunteers in 2022. A couple of them, Mike Daly from Serco and Leanne Turner from the LO Index on this call I saw earlier. It really had a very big impact into the ability to drive our programs forward. As we know, very similar to GBTA overall, we can't do anything without our volunteers rolling up our sleeves and driving what we need to do to make a difference. The volunteer program for 2023 is being launched over the next couple of weeks. So watch for a link where you can fill out a survey, share what you're most interested in, and you'll be able to see which of the pillars for 2023 is most closely aligned to what you would like to do and what you'd like to get involved in. There are leadership positions that you can get involved in. If you aren't sure about the amount of time that you can dedicate to Win It, you can be a member of the committee where you can just be able to join when you have the ability to do so based on your day job. So stay tuned and watch for that. But we do have something for everyone, and it is not gender specific. All genders are certainly welcome to be involved. So thanks for the question.
Okay, wonderful. The next question I'm going to try to summarize here is that we all know that during COVID, there was a lot of virtual hybrid events. And now after COVID, a lot of companies, organizations are moving back to purely face-to-face. So the question here is that this member says that they are restricted in their ability to travel. And they want to understand what GBTA's position is on virtual hybrid meetings, and so that they understand the value of their membership if they can't actually travel to convention or other events. And I'm thinking perhaps Denise, is that appropriate to ask you? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So great feedback, and actually something that I want to encourage all members on the call, and as well as you when you network and talk to other members. If the virtual component of our GBTA meetings and events is important and critical to you guys, please make sure that you're sharing that via either direct communications to the GBTA board or to staff or in surveys. It's important to hear, as most of you may know, having a virtual component is expensive. It's not a low cost model to add on to an event. We've done it at our key events. We continue to look at where an ROI, or at least where the return on investment or break-even point could be to hold those virtual components within our meetings. I think the more we hear from members saying, hey, I would attend, let's use town hall, even though it's virtual, but let's say the town hall meeting, if it was virtual, or I would attend the sustainability summit if it was virtual. We need to hear from you what those components are of events that you want to see as a virtual. Some events make sense, some don't. Having a 3-day meeting in a virtual component, not an ROI, plus attendees aren't getting a lot out of it because they can't stay focused. So we will continue to monitor and look at that and offer as many virtual events as we can, especially if our members is important to them. So thank you so much for asking that question. I think it's a great question and something we'll continue to look at. But it is up to us as the members to make sure that we know that as a board and as staff, so that we can continue to focus on that. So thanks, Tammy.
Okay, perfect. And Will, during your section, a question popped up to verify the supplier summit. And the question is, can you reconfirm that it moved from February 7th to February 21st?
Yeah, I'll default to Suzanne or someone from the staff.
Okay.
Yes, it has moved to February 21st.
Okay.
Great.
Love these questions. See, everybody's getting everything accomplished. It's fantastic. This is a really good question here. So GBTA Bay Area chapter has been working with the students at USF actively. So how can that chapter engage GBTA and further this initiative? So would that be Maria?
I'll take that one, Tammy.
I'll take that one. Thank you so much.
No problem. So first of all, that is fantastic news. I'll give you a little history here. This whole idea was born from, I'm going to wave my flag a little bit, out of Canada, because we've done that very successfully here at our events. Unfortunately, it was sidelined because of COVID, and we hope to relaunch, but please contact me. Let's talk about the work that you're doing. Part of what we want to do is exactly what you're doing. We want to partner with the chapters. We want to partner with our partners in Europe, because you're on the ground. You've got the relationships, you've got the connections, and some of you are already doing the work. So that's fantastic. Let's have a conversation about what you're doing today, and let's start to look at how do we expand that. And I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you. My email address is on the website. Feel free to reach out.
Fantastic.
Back over to you, Tammy.
Okay, thank you. We all know that volunteering is the lifeblood of any association, and there's a question about how can I start volunteering for GBTA? And Sue, I'm going to toss that over to you.
Well, I can handle the first part, and then I'm going to hand it off to Rosemary.
Perfect.
But you can reach out to any of us, obviously, to understand the level of interest of what you want to do, and what we can tell you what opportunities are currently available. We can then connect you to Morgan and Jill, who will willingly help us to connect you to the right individual based on what interest you have. So there's plenty of opportunity. Again, reach out to any of us. We'll put you in the right direction once we know what you're really interested in doing. And I will pass it off to Rosemary.
Thank you, Sue. There's a couple of different opportunities that you can take advantage of depending on where you are in the world. There are regional councils, regional committees, as well as in the US, there's the chapter system where you can volunteer with your local chapter to put on events and eventually work up into the way of that onto those boards as well. There's also always our dear friends at Win It where you can volunteer, as well as the GBTA Ladders program. So there are many opportunities out there for you to get involved. I recommend looking at the GBTA site to see all the different opportunities that are there. Back to you, Tammy.
Okay, wonderful. There was a question about when will members be notified, the winners, be announced as to who was selected for the complimentary GBTA memberships, which were announced at convention. So is that Suzanne or Maria? Okay, Maria, thank you
Yeah.
for
So,
raising your hand on that.
That's all right. Yeah, great question. It will be by the end of the year. So I know it's a great thing that Suzanne announced. So look for that by the end of the year.
Wonderful. Mark, I'm going to come to you with sustainability is such there's several questions on sustainability, and it is just very complex, very big topic on everyone's mind. So would you mind talking just a little bit more about what GBTA is doing, what kind of advocacy work in this area?
Yeah, sure, Tammy. Thank you very much for that. As I highlighted in my update, this is a journey. It's not something that, we're just going to do overnight, as I've clearly mentioned. So we're actively advocating, as we did in summits. We had a number of EU officials there and presenting. And I think what really encouraged me was how engaged they were, how positively they received GBTA, and they wanted us to continue to pursue the importance of business travel. And I think if anyone who was there would have also heard the fireside chat that we had with the Minister of the Cabinet, highlight that, business travel is important in a sustainable way. So Tammy, this is and to all our members, this is a journey. It's not happening overnight. There really isn't a silver bullet. For us, it's a race to net zero, but we can only do this collectively as an industry together, whether you're a buyer or supplier, because we do know that we want to empower buyers and suppliers to ensure that we put sustainability at the heart of their programs and operations.
Well said, well said. And maybe Suzanne, this is you or whoever would like to do this, but there's someone who would like to know a bit more about the APAC event next week.
Sure. Where it stands now, we're getting close to our 170 to 200 goal for registrants. It is in Bangkok next week, next Thursday and Friday. Those of you in the region or with staff in the region, we still have open slots. Thank you to all of our trusted and loyal supporters and sponsors for joining us there. It is really breaking the ice in a way that in other regions across the world have seen this kind of first conference of the region even up to 12 months ago. And so for us, it's the first real business travel, MICE, and a bit of leisure and tourism in our partnership with PATA, the Pacific Asia Travel Association. So right now, the lineup, the agenda looks really fantastic. It's been a great joint local APAC and global GBTA intervention as we've been putting the program together. And we look forward to welcoming both travel buyers as well as MICE planners and destination and, of course, suppliers who are going to be there.
Fantastic. Love the global reach. It's so needed and so important. We do not have any other questions in the chat, so we'll wait a few more, just another minute, making sure that everybody gets a chance to get their questions asked.
Yeah, so last chance, everyone. If you have a few more questions, please post them in the chat while we're waiting and just giving a few more minutes for people to type up their questions. Otherwise, we'll give you some time back of your day. Just wanted to reiterate, and thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. Whether it's your morning, afternoon, or evening, we know that your time is precious. And any moment that you give to GBTA and the organization, we don't take for granted, and we know and truly do appreciate it. As we shared in the beginning, we will be sending out the PowerPoint deck and the recording to everyone attending, as well as posting it to our internet site. I do just want to call out or plug the marketing team at GBTA for the great work that they've done on rebranding our website and getting the information back up there. They're doing a phenomenal job there. And, again, encourage everyone, if you haven't been on the bridge, or excuse me, on the bridge, that's PayPal. If you haven't been on the GBTA website lately, please take the time to go out there, check it out, take a ride through it and see what's out there. If there's things there that are missing that you want to see, again, let us know. This board, as well as the GBTA staff, continues to be as transparent and open and connected to you guys as possible. So we do want to make sure that everything is at your fingertips. You're able to get it and find the information. So with that, we do not have any more questions. So I want to thank the GBTA board for taking your time today, for presenting and sharing the insights in to the close of 2022 and into 2023. The staff behind the scenes that are helping out, making this production go successfully and smooth. And again, more importantly, the members that took the time today to join us. So thank you. With that, I will remind everyone that you can reach the GBTA Board of Directors via the email address. And if somebody can give it to me, because I think it's just GBTA Board of Directors at gbta.org is our email address. But we'll put that in the follow-up so that you have it. But again, we're here for you. We are open and look forward to you. For those that I don't see between now and the holidays, the board and myself wish you a very happy holiday season and a blessed New Year's as we get into 2023. So thank you, everyone, and we'll talk soon.